The silent scream. They thought Earth was just another dead rock to burn. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of New Hope Colony, watching the twin suns set over the purple mountains of Kepler 442b. She held her 3-year-old daughter Emma close, pointing at the colorful sky. "Look, sweetheart, the suns are going to sleep just like you will soon," Sarah whispered. Emma giggled and pressed her tiny hand against the glass. "Pretty colors, Mommy." 3,000 light-years away from Earth, New Hope was home to 15,000 humans. They had built farms, schools, and hospitals. Children played in the streets. Families shared dinner together. Life was good and peaceful. But peace never lasts forever. In the dark space between stars, something huge moved silently. The Vraktar fleet had been hunting for weeks. They were looking for easy targets, weak planets, small colonies. Admiral Zekmor sat in his command chair, his 6 eyes glowing red in the darkness. His scaled hands gripped the armrests as he studied the data on his screen. 3 human colonies, he hissed to his officers. Small, weak, perfect for testing our new plasma bombs. The Vraktar were not evil by nature. They were just practical. They needed to test their weapons somewhere. Human colonies seemed like easy targets. No big fleets to protect them. No strong defenses. Just soft targets full of weak creatures. "Sir," said Commander Vexith, "these colonies are far from Earth. No one will know what happened for months." "Good." Admiral Zekmor smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Begin the attack. Make it quick and clean." On New Hope Colony, Sarah was putting Emma to bed when the alarm started screaming beep, beep, beep. "All citizens report to emergency shelters immediately. This is not a drill." Sarah's heart began beating fast. She grabbed Emma and ran toward the shelter. Outside, she could see other families running too. Parents carried children. Old people helped each other walk. "Mommy, I'm scared," Emma cried. "It's okay, baby. We're going to be safe," Sarah lied, because she could see something in the sky that made her blood turn cold. Dark shapes were moving between the stars. Big shapes. Getting bigger. The Vraktar ships dropped out of hyperspace like metal monsters. Each ship was 5 miles long, covered in weapons that could destroy cities. They moved in perfect formation, blocking out the stars. On the lead ship, Admiral Zekmor gave his orders. "Target the population centers. Leave nothing alive." "Sir," asked a young officer, "shouldn't we warn them first? Give them a chance to surrender?" The Admiral laughed. "Why, they are just humans. Weak, soft creatures. This is just target practice." The first plasma bomb fell on New Hope's central city. The explosion was brighter than both suns. The heat was so intense that buildings melted like ice cream. The shockwave traveled for hundreds of miles, knocking down everything in its path. Sarah never made it to the shelter. The blast wave caught her and Emma halfway there. In her last moment, Sarah used her body to protect her daughter. But it wasn't enough. 15,000 people died in 30 seconds. The second bomb hit Harmony Station, mankind's mining colony on the ice moon of Titan 7. 8,000 miners and their families were having dinner when the sky turned white. They didn't even have time to scream. The third bomb destroyed Eden Prime, a farming colony that grew food for 12 other human settlements. 27,000 people were working in the fields when death fell from the sky like rain. Admiral Zekmor watched the destruction on his screens. 3 colonies, 50,000 humans, all gone in less than 10 minutes. "Excellent work," he told his crew. "The new plasma bombs work perfectly. Mark this mission as a success," but the Admiral made a terrible mistake. Something he didn't know about. Something that would change everything. Each human colony had been built on soil brought from Earth. Sacred soil from humanity's birth world. Soil that contained something ancient. Something that had been sleeping for a very long time. When human blood spilled on that Earth soil, something deep in the galaxy felt it. Something that had been quiet for thousands of years suddenly woke up. Far away, on a small blue planet called Earth, the trees began to whisper. The ocean started to move strangely. Deep underground in the planet's core, something that had been sleeping opened its eyes. Earth felt the death of its children, and Earth was not happy. Admiral Zekmor had no idea what he had just awakened, He thought he had won an easy victory. He thought he had destroyed 3 weak colonies with no consequences. He was wrong. The Vraktar ships turned away from the burning worlds and jumped back into hyperspace. They left behind only smoke, ash, and silence, but they also left behind something else. Something they couldn't see or understand. They left behind Earth's fury, and that fury was about to follow them home. The awakening Earth had been sleeping for 1,000 years. Until now, Dr. Michael Torres was working late in his lab at the Global Seismic Center in Colorado. He was drinking his 4th cup of coffee and studying earthquake data when something impossible appeared on his screen. The readings made no sense. "That can't be right," he whispered, adjusting his glasses. Every seismic sensor on Earth was going crazy. But these weren't earthquakes. The vibrations were coming from deep inside the planet's core. They had a rhythm, like a heartbeat. Thump, thump, thump. Michael had been studying earthquakes for 20 years. He had never seen anything like this. "Computer, run diagnostic on all sensors," he said. "All sensors working normally," the computer replied. Anomalous readings confirmed across all monitoring stations. The heartbeat was getting faster. Thump, 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 thump. 3,000 miles away in the Amazon rainforest, something even stranger was happening. Maria Santos was a forest ranger who had lived her whole life in the jungle. She knew every sound, every smell, every shadow. But tonight something was different. The trees were glowing, not all of them, just the oldest ones, the ancient giants that had stood for hundreds of years. A soft blue light pulsed under their bark, like veins filled with starlight. "Impossible," Maria breathed, touching the glowing bark of a massive cecropia tree. The tree felt warm, alive in a way that trees weren't supposed to be alive. She could feel something moving inside it, something aware. The tree whispered to her, not with words but with feelings. Images flowed into her mind. She saw fire falling from the sky. She saw children crying. She saw death on distant worlds, and she saw anger, pure, terrible anger. Across the globe, animals began acting strange. In Yellowstone National Park, every wolf pack stopped hunting and gathered in one place. They sat in perfect circles, looking up at the stars, howling a song that had never been heard before. In the African savanna, elephants marched across hundreds of miles to meet at an ancient watering hole. They stood together in silence, their eyes glowing with unusual intelligence. In the oceans, whales stopped their migrations. They dove deep and began singing in frequencies that made human submarines shake. Dr. Elizabeth Harper worked for NASA's Deep Space Monitoring Station. She was tracking satellites when her equipment detected something that made her blood run cold. Earth's magnetic field was changing. "This is impossible," she said, calling her supervisor. "The magnetic field is expanding. It's reaching out into space like arms." "What do you mean, arms?" her supervisor asked. "The field is stretching toward the outer planets. It's moving in specific directions, toward the colonies, but the colonies were gone. Everyone knew that. 3 colonies had gone silent 3 days ago. No signals, no communications. Military ships were being sent to investigate, but they wouldn't arrive for weeks. Elizabeth didn't know that the colonies were dead. She didn't know about the Vraktar attack, but somehow Earth knew. In his lab, Dr. Torres watched the seismic readings spike higher and higher. The planet's heartbeat was now racing like a runner's pulse. His phone rang. It was Dr. Harper from NASA. "Michael, you need to see this. Something is happening to Earth, I know. The core activity is off the charts." "No, it's more than that. I think Earth is waking up." "What do you mean, waking up?" Before Elizabeth could answer, every computer in both facilities shut down. Then they turned back on by themselves. Words appeared on every screen at the same time. "My children are hurt." Michael and Elizabeth stared at their screens in shock. The words faded, replaced by new ones. "I feel their pain." "This is impossible," Michael whispered. "Planets don't think. They don't feel." But deep underground, something vast and ancient was stirring. Something that had been sleeping since the birth of human civilization. Something that had watched over humanity like a mother watches over her children. Earth was not just a planet. Earth was alive, and Earth had a name that only the oldest trees and deepest oceans remembered. Gaia. For thousands of years, Gaia had protected her human children. She guided their evolution. She provided them with food, water, and safe places to live. She helped them grow strong and smart and brave, and when they were ready, she let them leave home. She let them travel to the stars and build new colonies on distant worlds. Like any good mother, she wanted her children to explore and grow, but she never stopped watching over them. When the Vraktar bombs fell, Gaia felt every death like a knife in her heart. She felt Sarachen's last breath. She felt Emma's tiny hand going cold. She felt 50,000 of her children dying in fire and pain. And for the first time in 1,000 years, Gaia was angry. The Earth's rotation began to change. Just a little bit, not enough to hurt the humans still on the planet, but enough to build power, massive power. In space, the International Space Station detected gravitational anomalies spreading out from Earth like ripples in a pond. Houston, we have a problem. Commander James Park radioed to Earth. Something is wrong with gravity. It's moving in waves. But Houston wasn't listening to the space station anymore. Every person on Earth was staring at the sky because something impossible was happening. The aurora borealis was visible everywhere, even at the equator, even in broad daylight. Green and blue lights danced across the entire sky like Gaia's thoughts made visible. And in those lights, people saw things. They saw visions of distant worlds burning. They saw alien ships fleeing into the darkness. They saw their own planet growing stronger, preparing for something huge. Children around the world began having the same dream. They dreamed of a voice, warm and loving like a mother's voice, but powerful like thunder. "Don't worry, little ones," the voice said. "Mama is coming." Admiral Zekmore was 3 days away from the dead colonies when his ship's sensors detected something impossible. A massive energy signature was moving through space. It was coming from the direction of Earth. "What is that thing?" he asked his science officer. "I don't know, sir. It's bigger than a moon, but it's not solid. It's pure energy, and it's heading straight for our territory." "How fast is it moving?" "Faster than light, sir." "But that's impossible. Nothing moves faster than our ships." Admiral Zekmore felt a chill run down his spine. For the first time in his military career, he was afraid. "Set course for home," he ordered. "Maximum speed." But even as his fleet jumped into hyperspace, Admiral Zekmore had the feeling that nowhere in the galaxy would be far enough to run. Behind them, Earth continued to pulse with growing power. The planet that had seemed so quiet and harmless was revealing its true nature. The humans living on Earth didn't understand what was happening, but they felt it in their bones. They felt their world becoming something more than a world, something ancient and powerful and protective, something that loved them enough to follow them across the galaxy, something that would make the aliens who hurt them pay a terrible price. The mother's rage when you hurt a mother's children, you face her fury. Captain Lisa Morgan was one of the few survivors from New Hope Colony. She had been on a supply run to the mining station when the bombs fell. Now she floated in her small ship, staring at the smoking remains of her home. Everything was gone. Her husband, her 2 sons, her friends, her life. She was about to shut down her ship's life support and join them in death when something incredible happened. A voice spoke inside her mind. Warm, loving, but filled with power that shook her soul. "My brave daughter, do not give up. Your mother comes for you." Lisa looked around her empty ship. "Who's there?" "Show yourself." The voice came again, clearer this time. "I am Gaia. I am Earth. I am the mother of all humanity, and I have felt the death of my children." Through her ship's window, Lisa saw something that made her gasp. The dead planet below was changing. The ash and smoke were clearing. Green light pulsed from deep craters where the bombs had fallen. "How is this possible?" Lisa whispered. "Love makes all things possible, my child. Your blood carries my essence. Every colony built on my sacred soil is part of me. When you die, I feel your pain. When you suffer, I suffer." The green light grew brighter. Lisa watched in amazement as plants began growing from the radioactive wasteland. Not normal plants, but something new, something that glowed with inner life. Rest now, Gaia's voice said. Watch your mother work. Meanwhile, on Earth, impossible things were happening everywhere. Dr. Torres stood on the observation deck of his research station, watching the planet transform itself. The ground beneath his feet hummed with power. The sky crackled with energy that his instruments couldn't measure. It's reshaping itself, he told Dr. Harper over the radio. The continents are moving. Not fast, but definitely moving. Moving how? They're forming patterns like circuit boards or weapon systems. That was exactly what was happening. Gaia was turning herself into the ultimate weapon. Mountain ranges became massive antenna arrays. Ocean currents changed direction to create power generators. The planet's core spun faster, building magnetic energy that could reach across the galaxy. But Gaia wasn't just changing Earth. She was reaching out to every world where humans lived. On Mars Colony, engineer Robert Kim was checking the atmospheric processes when alarms started blaring throughout the facility. "What's happening?" he shouted to his team. "The soil, sir. The Earth soil we brought for the gardens. It's glowing." Robert ran to the agricultural section. Sure enough, the carefully preserved Earth soil that they used to grow vegetables was pulsing with blue light. As he watched, the light spread through the entire facility like liquid starlight. "Sir," his assistant called out, "we're getting strange readings from the planet's core. Mars is changing." The red planet was indeed changing. Deep underground, dormant volcanic systems were waking up. But instead of erupting with lava, they were erupting with energy. Pure, clean energy that made the air itself glow. The same thing was happening on every human colony world. Europa Station, Titan Base, New California on Proxima Centauri. Everywhere humans had brought soil from their birth world. Gaia's influence was spreading. Admiral Zekmor was still 3 days from his home system when his worst fears came true. "Sir," his communications officer said, voice shaking with fear. "We're receiving reports from the home fleet. Something is attacking our outer colonies. What kind of something?" "They don't know, sir. The reports don't make sense. Planets are moving on their own. Gravity is being used as a weapon. Our ships are being crushed by invisible forces." Admiral Zekmor pulled up the tactical display. Red warning lights showed disasters across Vraktar space. 12 colonies had gone silent in the last hour. How is this possible? What kind of weapon can affect entire star systems? His science officer looked up from his instruments, terror in all 6 eyes. "Sir, I'm detecting a massive gravitational distortion approaching our position. It's huge, bigger than anything we've ever seen." "How big?" "Sir, it's the size of a small planet." But it wasn't a planet. It was Gaia herself, projecting her consciousness across space like an angry ghost. She moved faster than light, bending the laws of physics through pure force of will. And she was hunting. On Earth, humans felt their world's anger like a physical force. Children cried without knowing why. Adults felt a rage building inside them that wasn't their own. It was the rage of a mother whose children had been murdered. President Sarah Williams stood in the Situation Room, surrounded by advisors who had no idea how to advise her. The screens around them showed impossible things happening all over the planet. "Madam President," the Secretary of Defense said, "our satellites are detecting massive energy discharges in deep space. Something is happening in the Vraktar system." "The Vraktar? Who are they?" "Unknown, ma'am. We've never heard of them before. But our long-range sensors suggest they're under attack by something." The President stared at the displays showing Earth's transformation. "Is it us? Are we attacking them?" "I don't know, ma'am. I don't know what us means anymore." That was when the voice spoke, not just to the President, but to every human being on Earth at the same time. It echoed in their minds, warm but terrible, loving but deadly. "My children, do not fear. Someone has hurt your brothers and sisters on distant worlds. Your mother goes to make them pay. When I return, we will never be alone again." Back in space, Captain Lisa Morgan watched through her ship's sensors as something incredible approached the dead colony worlds. It looked like a star, but moved with purpose and intelligence. As it drew closer, she could see what it really was. Pure energy shaped by will and love and bottomless fury. It was Gaia's rage made manifest, traveling across the galaxy to punish those who had hurt her children. The energy touched the dead world of New Hope Colony. Immediately, the planet began to heal. The melted cities rebuilt themselves. The poisoned atmosphere cleared. Life returned to the scorched earth. But that wasn't the most amazing part. The most amazing part was when the dead began to rise. Lisa watched in shock as energy signatures appeared where none had been before. Thousands of them, the life signs of every person who had died in the attack. Impossible, she breathed. Gaia's voice came to her again, gentler now. Nothing is impossible for a mother protecting her children. Death is just another boundary to cross. On the planet's surface, Sarah Chen opened her eyes. She was lying in a field of glowing grass, her daughter Emma sleeping peacefully in her arms. Around them, thousands of other people were waking up, confused but alive. "Mommy?" Emma said, opening her bright eyes. "I had a scary dream." "It's okay, sweetheart," Sarah said, holding her close. Mama Earth made the scary things go away. And across the galaxy in the Vraktar home system, Admiral Zekmor received a message on every screen in his fleet. The words appeared in perfect Vraktar text, written by a power that had learned their language in seconds. "You killed my children. Now you face their mother's justice." The Admiral looked out at his mighty fleet of 1,000 warships, the most powerful military force in known space, ships that could destroy planets and conquer star systems. He realized it wouldn't be nearly enough. The thing approaching them wasn't just powerful, it was personal. It was a mother's love transformed into a weapon of absolute justice, and it was coming for them at the speed of light and fury. The hunt begins. They ran across the galaxy, but you cannot hide from an angry planet. Admiral Zekmor's fleet was the pride of the Vraktar Empire. 1,000 warships, each one capable of destroying cities. They had conquered 40 star systems. They had never known defeat. Today they learned what fear meant. "Jump to hyperspace," the Admiral screamed. "All ships, emergency jump, now!" The massive fleet disappeared into the swirling chaos of faster-than-light travel. Behind them, the energy signature that was Gaia's fury grew larger and brighter, like a star made of pure anger. "How far to the home system?" Admiral Zekmor asked. 6 hours at maximum speed, sir," his navigator replied. "Good. Whatever that thing is, it can't follow us through hyperspace." The Admiral was wrong. In the swirling colors of hyperspace, something impossible happened. The energy that was Gaia's consciousness tore through the fabric of space itself. She didn't follow the rules of physics anymore. She made her own rules. She moved through hyperspace like a shark through water, faster than any ship had ever traveled. "Sir," the sensor operator screamed. "It's here. It's in hyperspace with us." On the main screen they could see it. A ball of blue-white energy, beautiful and terrible, keeping pace with their fleet like it was standing still. "Impossible," Admiral Zekmor whispered. "Nothing can move through hyperspace without a ship." That was when the voice came. It spoke directly into every mind on every ship in the fleet. The voice of a mother driven to fury by the murder of her children. "You cannot run from me," Gaia said. Her voice was like thunder and gentle rain at the same time. "I am everywhere my children have been. I am in every breath they took. I am in every tear they shed. And now I am coming for you." On the bridge of the lead ship, sparks began flying from the control panels, but not from damage. The technology itself was changing. Metal became organic. Circuits grew like vines. The ship was turning into something alive. "What's happening to our ship?" Commander Vexith asked. Admiral Zekmor looked around in horror as the walls began to pulse like a heartbeat. "She's taking control of our own technology," and that was exactly what was happening. Gaia's influence was spreading through the Vraktar fleet like a virus, but not a virus that destroyed, a virus that transformed. She was turning their weapons into gardens. She was making their warships into sanctuaries for life. "Sir," the weapons officer reported, "our plasma cannons are producing flowers instead of energy blasts. The missile tubes are growing fruit trees." "Sir," another officer added, "and the ship's computer is playing what sounds like lullabies." Admiral Zekmor realized with growing terror that they weren't being attacked. They were being adopted. This angry planet mother was claiming his entire fleet as her own children. "Drop out of hyperspace," he ordered. "Maybe we can fight her in normal space." The fleet dropped back into regular space near a small asteroid belt. Immediately, every ship's sensors went crazy. Space itself was bending around them. Gravity was moving like ocean waves, and then they saw her. Gaia had taken physical form. She appeared as a massive entity made of pure energy and starlight, but with the shape of a woman holding her arms wide. She was beautiful beyond description and terrible beyond imagination. She was a mother ready to protect her children at any cost. "My poor, lost children." Gaia's voice echoed through space itself. "You've been taught to hurt others, but I will teach you a better way. All ships open fire." Admiral Zekmor screamed. The Vraktar fleet unleashed everything they had. Plasma beams, quantum torpedoes, antimatter missiles. Enough firepower to destroy a dozen planets. None of it touched Gaia. Instead, every weapon was transformed the moment it left the ships. Plasma beams became streams of healing light. Missiles became birds that sang beautiful songs. Torpedoes became seed pods that would grow into mighty trees. "This is impossible," Admiral Zekmor shouted. "Nothing can do this." "Nothing. I am not nothing," Gaia replied gently. "I am everything. I am the mother of all life, and you hurt my babies." That was when the real lesson began. The space around the Vraktar fleet began to change. It filled with images, holographic displays that showed the truth of what they had done. The aliens saw Sarah Chen holding her daughter Emma, trying to protect her in those last moments. They saw the terror in the children's eyes. They saw families hugging each other as death fell from the sky, but they also saw more. They saw the love these humans had shared, the way Sarah sang to Emma at bedtime, the way families helped each other, the way humans cared for the weak and protected the innocent. Many of the younger Vraktar officers began to cry. They had never seen love like this before. Their society was built on strength and conquest. They didn't understand that there was another way to live. "Why do you show us this?" Admiral Zekmor asked, his voice breaking. "Because you need to understand what you destroyed," Gaia replied. "You took away laughter and love and dreams. You stole futures that will never happen. You broke a mother's heart. The images changed. Now they showed what could have been. Emma Chen growing up, becoming a doctor, saving lives. The children of Harmony Station becoming artists and scientists and explorers. The farmers of Eden Prime feeding millions of people across the galaxy. All of that potential destroyed in 10 minutes of senseless violence." "We didn't know," Admiral Zekmor whispered. "We thought they were just targets." "They were my children," Gaia said, her voice filled with infinite sadness. "Each one precious, each one loved, and you killed them because you thought they were weak." Something began to happen to the Vraktar fleet. The ships were still changing, becoming more organic, more alive. But the crews were changing too. The anger and violence that had driven them for so long began to fade away. They felt something they had never experienced before. Guilt, sorrow, and underneath it all, a desperate need to make things right. "What do you want from us?" Admiral Zekmor asked. "I want you to learn," Gaia replied. "I want you to understand that strength without love is meaningless. I want you to help me protect all children everywhere in the galaxy. And if we refuse..." Gaia's form grew brighter, and for a moment the aliens saw her true power. She could reshape reality itself. She could turn their weapons into dust. She could make their ships disappear with a thought, but instead of destroying them, she spoke with the voice of a teacher. "You will not refuse. Because deep down, under all that anger and violence, you are children too. You are my children now, and I will help you become better than you were." The transformation of the fleet was complete. The warships had become something new. They were still ships, but now they were also gardens, libraries, schools, hospitals, and the crews were changing too. They felt Gaia's love washing away their hatred. They felt her compassion healing their broken souls. Admiral Zekmor looked at his hands and saw that his scales had begun to change color. Instead of the dark red of a warrior, they were turning blue-green, like Earth's oceans. "What have you done to us?" he asked. "I have given you a choice," Gaia replied. "You can continue to be creatures of war and death, or you can become something better. You can become protectors of life." Around the fleet, space began to fill with new life. Gaia was creating ecosystems in the vacuum itself. Stars became suns for new gardens. Asteroids became homes for creatures that had never existed before. "This is your test," Gaia said. "Help me create instead of destroy. Help me protect instead of conquer. Show me that you can love instead of hate." Admiral Zekmor looked at his transformed fleet, his changed crew, the impossible beauty surrounding them. For the first time in his long military career, he made a decision based on love instead of fear. "We will serve you," he said quietly. "We will protect your children, all of them, human and Vraktar and any other species that needs protection." "Good," Gaia said, her voice warm with approval. "Now you begin to understand what it means to be truly strong." But their lesson was not over yet. Gaia had one more thing to show them, something that would change their understanding of the universe forever. She showed them Earth itself, the blue-green planet where humanity was born. But now they could see what Earth really was. Not just a planet, but a living entity, a mother watching over billions of children across the galaxy, and Earth was not alone. In the deepest parts of space, other ancient entities were awakening, other planets that had given birth to intelligent life, other mothers who loved their children. The galaxy was full of parents who would do anything to protect their young. The age of conquest was ending. The age of protection was beginning. The price of violence. Some lessons can only be learned through absolute defeat. 3 months after the transformation of the Vraktar fleet, the galaxy had become a very different place. Admiral Zekmor, now calling himself Guardian Zekmor, stood on the bridge of his transformed ship. Where once there had been weapons of destruction, now there were gardens full of flowers from a dozen different worlds. Where once there had been maps of conquest, now there were star charts showing refugee camps and colonies that needed protection. His crew was different too. The anger that had driven them for so long was gone, replaced by something they had never felt before: purpose, real purpose. "Guardian," his communications officer said, "we're receiving a distress call from the Theta sector. A small trading colony is under attack by space pirates." "Set course immediately," Zekmor ordered. "Maximum speed." As his ship jumped to hyperspace, Zekmor thought about how much everything had changed. The Vraktar Empire no longer existed. In its place was something new, something better. They called themselves the Guardians now, and their only mission was to protect life wherever they found it. But the biggest change wasn't in the Vraktar. The biggest change was in Earth itself. On the blue-green planet where humanity was born, Dr. Michael Torres stood in what used to be his seismic research center. Now it was something incredible, a living building that grew from the Earth itself. Its walls made of crystallized starlight, and its computers powered by the planet's own heartbeat. "The integration is complete," he reported to the Global Council. "Every major city on Earth is now connected to Gaia's consciousness. We can communicate instantly with any human colony in the galaxy." President Williams nodded from her own transformed office. "And the other planets, the ones that are awakening?" 17 so far, Dr. Torres replied. "Mars is fully awakened. It's calling itself Ares now, and it's become a warrior planet dedicated to protecting human military colonies. Jupiter's moons are awakening too. Europa calls herself the Deep Mother, and she's creating the most amazing underwater cities you've ever seen." The truth was even more incredible than that. Across the galaxy, planets that had given birth to intelligent life were waking up. They were remembering their purpose. They were becoming active parents again, protecting their children among the stars. But nowhere was the change more amazing than on the colony worlds that had been destroyed. Captain Lisa Morgan walked through the streets of New Hope City, rebuilt and more beautiful than ever. Children played in parks where deadly craters had once been. Markets sold fruits and vegetables that glowed with inner light. The air itself seemed to sing with joy. "It's hard to believe it was all destroyed just 3 months ago," she said to Sarah Chen, who was pushing her daughter Emma on a swing set made of living wood. "It wasn't just rebuilt," Sarah replied, watching Emma laugh with pure happiness. "It was reborn. Everything is better now, stronger, more alive." Emma jumped off the swing and ran to Lisa. "Miss Lisa, look what I can do." The little girl held out her hands, and flowers began growing from her palms. Not normal flowers, but blooms made of light and stardust that sang tiny songs as they opened. Gaia gave all the children special gifts, Sarah explained, to make up for what they lost. Emma can grow things now. Other children can heal injuries just by touching them. Some can talk to animals or fly or see the future. Lisa smiled as Emma created a garden of singing flowers around her feet. What about the adults? We got gifts too, Sarah said. I can feel the emotions of every living thing around me. It helps me take better care of people. Other adults got different abilities. We're all connected now, all part of Gaia's family. High above them, in the space around New Hope Colony, something wonderful was happening. Ships were arriving, not warships, but vessels full of refugees from across the galaxy. Word had spread that there was a place where all species were welcome, a place where the planet itself would protect anyone who needed help. The Guardians helped manage the refugee camps, but they weren't the only ones. Dozens of other species had heard about Gaia's protection and come to offer their services. Scientists, doctors, teachers, artists, all working together to build something that had never existed before, a truly peaceful corner of the galaxy. But the most incredible changes were happening on Earth itself. Dr. Elizabeth Harper floated in her space station, which was now part biological organism and part machine. Through her enhanced sensors, she could see across the entire galaxy. She could watch Guardian fleets protecting trade routes. She could observe awakened planets sharing knowledge and resources. She could feel the happiness of billions of beings who no longer had to fear random violence. The transformation is spreading faster than we predicted, she reported to Gaia directly. The planet's consciousness was always available now, like a loving parent who was always ready to listen. That is because love spreads faster than fear, Gaia replied, her voice warm in Elizabeth's mind. For too long, the galaxy was ruled by those who believed in strength through violence. Now it is learning that true strength comes from protecting others. What about species that refuse to change, that still want to conquer and destroy? They find that their weapons no longer work. Their ships break down. Their planets become uncomfortable places to live. The galaxy itself is teaching them that cooperation brings more rewards than conquest. And it was true. Across the stars, aggressive species were discovering that their old ways no longer functioned. Pirates found that their weapons turned into flowers the moment they tried to attack innocent ships. Warlords discovered that their armies would rather tend gardens than fight wars. Entire military empires found themselves transformed into networks of schools and hospitals. The galaxy was growing up. It was learning to solve problems with love instead of violence. On a distant world at the edge of known space, Emperor Vashtok of the Crimson Empire read the reports from his scouts with growing disbelief. This cannot be real, he told his generals. Planets do not become conscious. Weapons do not turn into plants. You are telling me fairy tales. Your Majesty, his chief scout replied nervously, I have seen it with my own eyes. The humans have awakened something ancient and powerful. It is changing everything it touches. Then we will destroy it before it reaches us, the Emperor declared. Prepare the Death Fleet. We will show this Gaia what real power looks like. The Emperor had no way of knowing that Gaia was already aware of him. She could feel his hatred like a cold wind across space. She could sense his plans to hurt her children, and she was ready for him. The Death Fleet was the most powerful military force in the outer galaxy. 5,000 ships designed for only one purpose: complete destruction of entire star systems. They had wiped out hundreds of civilizations, but when they arrived at Earth's solar system, they found something they had never encountered before. The entire solar system was alive. Earth glowed with blue-green light. Mars pulsed with red energy. Jupiter's moons sparkled like jewels. Even the asteroids had organized themselves into protective formations. And standing between the Death Fleet and Earth was something impossible. A woman made of starlight and cosmic energy, larger than planets, beautiful beyond description, Gaia in her full glory. Welcome, lost children, she said, her voice echoing through space itself. You have come here to destroy. But I offer you something better. I offer you love. Emperor Vashitok screamed orders from his flagship. All ships, fire everything. Destroy this illusion. The Death Fleet unleashed its full power. Weapons that could crack planets open like eggs. Energy beams that could boil oceans. Missiles that could shatter moons. Every single weapon was transformed before it could do harm. Destructive energy became healing light. Missiles became seeds that would grow into beautiful trees. Death rays became songs that filled the hearts of everyone who heard them with joy. This is impossible, the Emperor raged. Nothing is impossible for a mother protecting her children. Gaia replied gently, now let me show you what you have been missing. The same transformation that had happened to the Vraktar began happening to the Death Fleet. Ships became gardens. Weapons became tools for creation, and the crews themselves began to change. Emperor Vashitok felt it happening to him too. The anger that had driven him his entire life was fading away. In its place came something he had never experienced. Peace, joy, the desire to help instead of hurt. What have you done to me? He whispered. I have given you back your heart, Gaia said. You lost it long ago when you decided that power was more important than love. But it was always there, waiting for someone to remind you how to feel. The Emperor looked at his hands and saw that they were no longer the claws of a destroyer. They were the gentle hands of someone who could build instead of tear down. Around his transformed fleet, new life was blooming in space itself. Gardens grew on the hulls of his ships. His crew members were laughing and crying at the same time, overwhelmed by emotions they had forgotten they could feel. I'm sorry, the Emperor said, and he meant it with every fiber of his being. I'm sorry for all the pain I caused, all the worlds I destroyed, all the families I broke apart. I know you are, Gaia said kindly, and now you can spend the rest of your life making up for it. You can protect instead of destroy. You can create instead of conquer. You can love instead of hate. The former Emperor fell to his knees on the bridge of his transformed ship. How can I ever make up for what I've done? By helping me protect all children everywhere in the galaxy. By making sure that no other families suffer like the ones you hurt. By choosing love over fear every single day for the rest of your life. And so the galaxy's greatest destroyer became one of its greatest protectors. Months later, Captain Lisa Morgan stood on the observation deck of New Hope Colony, watching ships arrive from across the galaxy. Not warships, but vessels full of families looking for safe places to raise their children. Artists coming to share their creations. Scientists bringing new discoveries, teachers offering their knowledge. The galaxy had become what it was always meant to be, a community. A family Emma Chen, now 4 years old, tugged on Lisa's hand. Miss Lisa, look. Lisa looked up at the stars and saw something beautiful. The lights in the sky were arranged in patterns, constellations that spelled out messages of love and welcome in 100 different languages. Gaia was decorating the heavens themselves, making the galaxy a more beautiful place for all her children. It's pretty, Emma said, clapping her hands. Yes, it is, Lisa agreed, and it's going to stay pretty forever. Because across the galaxy, a simple truth had been learned by every intelligent species. Never attack someone's children in front of their mother. The galaxy was safe. The galaxy was protected, and the galaxy would remain at peace as long as mothers loved their children, and children remembered to love each other. And in a universe full of love, that would be forever. The end.